You are, then choose to get breakfast or lunch today at Dean's Corner Diner in Jewett City. Whether it's eggs, pancakes, burgers, or homemade soup, Dean's Corner Diner is always a smart choice. Call and order ahead by calling 860-376-9141. Dean is open 7 days a week, so come in, mask up, and eat up. Dean's Corner Diner, Main Street, Jewett City.
All right, time to take a look at the weather forecast right now. Here he is. It's the one and only. I had one job, Paul Ash.
Good morning, everybody. Right now, the temperature downtown Jude City is 48 degrees. Probably the mostly cloudy today. Highs will be around 61 degrees. But tonight, considerable cloudiness. Lows around 42. For your Saturday, considerable cloudiness. Occasional rain showers in the afternoon. Highs will be around 59 degrees. And for your Saturday night, cloudy.
Sorry about that. That was
cloudy with partial clearing expected. Lows around 41. For Sunday, Mother's Day, partly cloudy skies during the morning hours, become overcast in the afternoon with highs around 66. And for that Monday, back to school, back to work today, cloudy with occasional rain showers, highs around 58. And that's your weather on this Friday, 05/07/2021.
all right. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Chris. How are you guys today?
Just happy to be here.
Friday.
Wow. So the big news, of course, the Griswold Senior Center
Yeah.
has
Passed.
the referendum.
Yes. Still a lot of people complaining about it.
There are lots of people that are unhappy with it. There are lots of people that are.
Yeah.
Now doesn't seem to be a lot of in between on this one.
No,
It's either you're for it or you're against it.
Right.
If the vote wouldn't indicate that though.
No, because it was really heavy on the yes side, not so much on the whole side.
It was 2-1.
Yeah.
It was 2-1.
Yeah.
Do we know how many people voted?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little over 800. I was right there that night
And,
at town hall when they counted the votes.
and how many eligible voters are there?
See, now that's the ticket right there. That's it. You knew exactly where I was going.
You can't complain if you don't show up.
That's the issue. People bitch, but they didn't go vote.
Right.
There were a little over 800 votes.
Right, which is peanuts.
It was 11%.
Right, which is peanuts.
Of the registered voters in Griswold that actually showed up. So
Yeah. And there was no excuse for that because it was on till 8 p.m.
it was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I know it.
Yeah, there were there's a little over was talking to the registrar, and there's just over 7,600 registered voters in Griswold.
And how many voted?
Just about 800.
800.
Uh-huh.
So it was about 11%.
Okay.
So the other end of that is 89% didn't show up.
Right.
They didn't come to vote at all.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how many of the 89% were bitching.
what's that?
I wonder how much of that 89%.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's a lot of people that are unhappy about it.
Yeah.
But I guess, all right. You remember when Keep Griswold Quiet was a thing, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pam Padalano and her group,
Yeah.
Keep Griswold Quiet, they recruited, they went and talked to people,
Yeah.
to get people to say, hey, look, we don't, this is why we don't want a gun range
Right.
here in the town of Griswold. Well, I don't know. I guess if people were that passionate about not spending the $760,000 to finish the senior center, they maybe would have done the same.
Did the Keep Griswold Quiet thing ever come to a vote?
Oh yeah, that's.
And how many people showed up then?
The place was packed.
Yeah, it's packed.
It was overwhelming.
So more than 800?
Yes.
So you're more concerned with keeping Griswold quiet than you are with having a senior center.
And same thing with the gun control.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
more
oh,
people
yeah.
at that gun control meeting than there was ever.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. You start talking about guns in this town, and everybody, becomes Yosemite Sam, and it's like, woohoo!
I know.
Marmot, you're taking away my guns. But they're right, So I
Yeah.
mock, but
And the other thing that surprised me was some people didn't even know there was a freaking senior center being built. And some of the stuff that you looked at and you saw, I said, I mean, where the hell have these people been?
And
I
the
mean,
other,
COVID hit, yeah, but that doesn't mean you went off grid.
Wait, they built a senior center?
right.
Oh, man.
And then there were some people that said, "Well, I didn't know there was a referendum." Well, I'm sorry, you must be living under a rock because
Oh, yeah,
that was everywhere.
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 I don't
Kids
know.
were going, "Hey, you gonna vote in the referendum? Can't do it. I'm only 12." But
Yeah.
that was my point. Kids knew about it that I had talked to.
It's anybody's going to bitch about something, Yeah.
I'd say the numbers just show that this whole senior center thing wasn't a big deal.
Not only that
I
it
don't think it was a
wasn't,
big deal. I think it was a political
it was
thing
a political
thing that
game.
went
Yeah.
on. Some people set the tone, and that's what caused the issues to happen. I believe there was some tone set in some of the communications.
Well, any idea if it was a party line vote?
Well, there was a party.
There was a party line vote.
Was it?
Well, I mean, as far as pushing it to referendum,
Well,
that's
but
why,
I
yeah.
mean, did most of the people, were they Republicans that voted yay?
Oh,
Or
I don't know. I don't know what the statistical breakdown was.
That'd be
Yeah.
interesting to find out.
I don't know.
But hey, it's over. It's done.
Yep.
It's just
Moving on.
Well, it is over, but it's not.
because now they're going to do
It's
finger
not.
pointing. Now it's
Sure.
finger pointing, and they want somebody's neck or somebody's head to roll as a part of this whole thing. Well, I think it comes down to a lot of issues.
Like what?
Communication being one of them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I still think that whenever you have a project of this size, there always is somebody overlooking what's going on. And I think the communication failed at that point where they didn't communicate out to the right individuals. And maybe it was just done accidentally. They didn't do it on purpose. They just probably just hell with it. Don't do it.
You can only,
Go ahead,
I'm
Chris,
sorry, I was going to say that you can only make a informed decision with the amount of information you have available.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't get the information they need to make a decision, then, whose fault is it? The person that was required to give them the information or the person that is receiving the information? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think. Well, I overheard a conversation about somebody complaining about the building committee and somebody defending the building committee.
So
And the conversation basically went like this. You should withhold all pay to the people on the building committee. And then person number 2 says, but they don't get paid. Person number 1 says, exactly.
yeah.
These people are all volunteers.
Right.
Some of them may never have been on a building committee ever.
Right.
It's like some people on the Board of Finance. They are not accountants.
Right.
They are not financial gurus. But we voted them in.
Right.
So what
Yeah,
do you do?
I kind of agree with you because some of these committees also are political. You have to have so many Republicans, so many Democrats on some of these committees that are formed. So did they choose the right people? I don't know. But, you think that a lot of the responsibility on communicating out would be the building committee, not necessarily it's just like you when you build your house. You're the homeowner, right? You're going to want everything in your power to get everything you want, but who's going to keep you in line? The contractor. He's going to tell you, this is how much money you got. This is what you're going to spend. Well, in this case, it was the building committee that was supposed to keep everybody in line.
Were there a lot of change orders issued? Because that's
Apparently
typically where cost overruns come from.
Apparently, there was some change orders.
Yeah.
Have a
But
contract.
we really can't speak to that because we
don't know.
We
We
do
don't.
not know.
Right.
So
But you're right. The change order, especially with COVID, when these guys had a set contract that they had to pay so much.
there were some change orders. I just
They
don't know.
have
how
change
many.
orders, they're going to stick it right to you.
Right.
But,
I can tell you right now that I know I see that the Board of Finance Chairman Scott Davis is in the group. So I don't know if Scott, you want to jump in there.
I mean, how did the meeting go last time?
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, because I forgot about it. Damn it.
Are you still there, Scott?
He thought he ran.
Crickets.
Hey, he's running.
I'm out of here.
I'm running like the wind.
I'm out.
He's running like the wind.
Crickets. Nothing but crickets.
He's probably got his head in his hand in his forehead going,
Oh, not again.
oh, make it stop.
called me
Make
out.
it stop.
Not again.
Well, Scott hasn't answered.
So now that
He's running like the wind.
Well, can you blame him?
No, I can't blame him.
so now that the vote has actually passed,
Yeah.
how long before the senior center opens?
Yesterday.
Okay.
I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if what's.
I mean, were they withholding work?
nothing
because-
right yet. So everything stopped.
Okay.
Everything
So there's
worked.
still work to do.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's lots of work to do.
$720,000.
But I mean,
$760,000.
Is it a year before it opens now? Is
I
it
don't
2
know.
years?
No,
How long will
I
the
don't.
work
I,
take?
I don't. You know,
I
and
thought
that was
someone
that was
said
a question that I had asked
August.
Scott. No, I asked him the other night
Oh, you did.
while we were all waiting for the vote. Yeah, and you can't give in. Well, Rob Perrette was there as well, the building committee chairman, and really couldn't give an answer because there are things that have to lead up to that. You know,
Right.
to building. Scott goes phone. So he wants to set it straight, and I'm glad because I kind of planted the seed with him the other night.
So did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to come on. So I just gave him the phone number. So
Yeah. Poor guy.
yeah, I know, I do. I mean, it's a
He's
thankless job.
I
It's
know.
a
He's probably
thankless
so
job.
sick of hearing about this damn committee.
You know, whether you agree with the Board of Finance or you don't, you know, these men and women work tirelessly, you know, for the town of Griswold, making the best decisions that they feel they can. And again, whether you like it or you don't.
Oh well.
What you gonna do when she says goodbye?
One of those things.
What you gonna do when she is gone?
Are we waiting on Scott?
Yeah, we're waiting on Scott.
Anytime now, Scott.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, chop chop.
Got dead air going
He's
on
probably
here.
saying, "Oh no."
Dead air. 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 Oop, oop, oop. Did I see? Nope, it's not blinking yet.
Yeah, he sure is calling in. Oh well.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Scott. All right, Scott, I'm just going to tell you 860-591-1054.
Scott's sitting at home in his leopard print jammies, drinking his Irish coffee, going, "Oh, do I really want to do this?"
Yeah.
I didn't send him it. I just put it in the room there, Scott. I just put the phone number in comments. And let's do this. It's right up on the screen. There you go. Scott, put it in your contact list. There it is. There it
He should have you on speed dial.
is. Why are we not on speed dial?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Scott, why are we just not on why are we not on speed dial?
Yeah, I've got to put you in like my top 10 or, Fab 5.
Or your hidden contact list of people you don't want to call. Or the one that gets that you get called by that number, it's like instantly rejected.
He's got us on the do not call list.
Yeah, put you on my blocked list.
Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll just change my phone number and keep calling. That's what they do, you know.
Yeah.
Well, they buy blocks of phone numbers and then they.
I get a lot of calls from Jewett City that I know these people not.
I instantly put it into reverse lookup to see if I can find who it is, and all of them they never come up.
Nope.
Anywho, hi Scott.
Hi.
You sound like you've just been flogged.
I'm just kind of getting spent.
So question number one: are you glad it's over?
I'm glad we've passed the first hurdle. I don't know if it's necessarily over. I don't think it'll be over until the project's done, but I'm glad that certainly we've passed that first hurdle. And you know, like we talked about, we've said many times. Obviously, there were philosophical differences. Should you pull it out? Shouldn't you pull it out? You know, whatnot. I still to this day think that was certainly the best option with the least impact on the taxpayers.
Yep. Okay. Paul, do you have a comment on that?
No, I always agreed that was the best one too. That was the best option that we had
Okay.
based on based on the pandemic stuff that we're in now. If it was not the same story, then I would probably disagree with it. That you know,
Am I right in saying that it's coming out of our rainy day fund?
no, it's not a rainy day.
Not a rainy day fund.
Okay.
Whatever
Really
the
it's
A
not
fund.
really a rainy day. So it's basically the undesignated fund within the general fund, or you know, I hate to use the term surplus. Everything you say can and will be used against you. You guys know how that works.
sure.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so we're pulling the money out of the undesignated fund. How moving forward are we going to rebuild that undesignated fund amount?
So, you know, that's one of those things where we don't try to actively build this fund up. You know, there's this you know, thought process out there that through overtaxation or whatever, we're building up this rainy day fund for whatever the case may be. And you know, that's generally not really kind of how it works. So basically, I'm just going to talk very, you know, large kind of generalisms. But you know, we have this surplus, the general fund, as it were, and basically, when you have, you know, budget years where you collect more revenue through taxes than you budgeted for. You know, normally I think we budgeted around 98%, I think it is, you know, or somewhere thereabouts. Because you don't budget 100%. Trying to say that we're always going to collect 100% of the taxes is not realistic. You try to dial that number on what is a realistic number, and sometimes the amount you collect is greater than what you budgeted for. Sometimes, you know, when you budget, the budgets are typically expense-only budgets. Well, occasionally there are times when there are savings. They don't spend all of the money that has been allocated for one reason or another. You know, those are two examples where now you're going to have money left over or more money coming in. Where does it go? It goes into that particular account. So that helps to build it up. Another example of how we've had money end up in that account was we had some long-term debt, some bonds, and a number of years ago when rates came down, you know, Eric, who I think is a true gem for our community, the finance director, he was able to refinance those long-term obligations at a much lower rate, saving us money, and actually that resulted in monies going back into that fund. And then really the other way that typically that fund increases is, you know, every year there are revenue projections that go into the budget, some from, you know, state monies through taxation, grants, etc. The other one that is shown on there in revenues coming in is through the tuition that's collected from the schools. And I would say that, I'll be on the board, I think, 10 years coming this November, and I can't think of a year where they haven't exceeded those revenue numbers that they projected. You know, sometimes it might only be by $20,000, but I think there are some years where it's been $200,000 or $300,000 that they've exceeded in the tuition revenue they've collected. That money does not go into their budget because that budget's an expense-only budget. That money goes into the general fund, which, you know, allows us to, in these emergency situations, I guess you'd have to say, you know, utilize that money.
So that's like the Board of Education, their budget. It's an expense only budget, and any
Right.
revenues they get go to a line item for the town. Correct.
Correct. I mean, there are certain offsets maybe or nets, but yeah, generally speaking, Yes, anything that's over, it kind of goes into that fund. I mean, and I don't want to. Boy, I'm going to say something, and somebody's going to say that's wrong because they're going to try to twist it or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day,
They say that to me every day,
there's
Scott.
yeah, I know. At the end of the day, I guess you have to look at revenue money coming in. Revenue money coming into the town. It's really one big pot of money. It really is. There happens to be two separate budgets. There happens to be a town government expense budget, and there happens to be a Board of Education expense budget. But on the revenue side, there's really one big pot of money. All those revenues go into revenues, and they're accounted for, accordingly.
Was it you that told me that the Board of Education? No, it wasn't you. It was somebody else. But the Board of Education budgeted, or they estimated they were going to get $1.1 million in sending town income from sending students from area towns. But the number they realized was actually 1.3 million. So there,
that wasn't me. But I mean that what you just said, Mike, kind of speaks to what I was talking about. That they do their projections as best they can, and nobody's got that crystal ball to know exactly what their numbers are. And students move in, students move out, so a lot of times it's a wash. And they put their best guess on what they think their revenues are going to be based on, I guess probably historical figures. Yeah, it's kind of like year after year, it has exceeded what their projection was.
And most of that income is actually from coming from the special education programs.
It's kind of been a mix. Historically, I would say that in the past, and when I say in the past, I'm gonna go back, previous to a year and a half or 2 years ago. In the past, it was just regular, tuition from what I understand it. And somebody from the Board of Ed could come on, or Sean could come on, superintendent could come on and say, "Oh no, he's completely wrong." In the past, we just knew of tuition revenue, and I think the assumption by our board was that it was just from tuition sending towns. And I say up until about 2 years ago, because about 2 years ago now, I think it is. I think we're in the second year. We kind of started a new model in conjunction with the Board of Ed, where we had earmarked some money initially outside of their budget to fund a special education teacher specifically for tuition sending towns for the special education program. So that really became, I guess, I would have to say, a new business model for them to be able to garner even more tuition revenue on top of just the regular tuition that they had realized in the past. So now you've got regular, I'll call it regular ed tuition sending towns, and there's this special ed, new position, and now it's in their second year. They have since absorbed it, incorporated into their budget, but we get monthly reports on that, and based on that business model, their net profit on that, I think, so far this year, just on that new position, is somewhere around, I don't know, I'm going to say probably $140,000 or $150,000. And don't quote me on that, because I don't remember off the top of my head, but that business model is working on the special education side, as well from sending towns. So yeah, that certainly has helped to increase that fund balance.
The other thing, and please tell me if I'm wrong or right or whatever. One of the things that the senior center vote has helped move on, and that is the possibility of, since we're on the subject of special education, that is moved on for the old senior center to possibly be moved into, or the alternative school to be moved there instead of way out in Griswold somewhere.
Yeah, that's correct. I can't speak a whole heck of a lot on that. My knowledge on it is limited. I mean, I can speak to, we did have a couple of meetings, which they've got a subcommittee, the Board of Ed does. They spoke, Marty Osga, and then also Sean McKenna spoke to that. There are a number of issues. I mean, not only, I guess, location, size, the actual usability of that building, the state of repair, I guess, of that building. So they did approach us a number of months ago, looking for some money for us to appropriate some money so that they could do a feasibility study on what would become the old senior center, to see whether or not it would be really a viable option to move, whether it makes sense, whether it makes fiscal sense, size-wise, what would need to be done, ahead of time to that building, and decide whether or not that's something that was, I guess, worth pursuing. My understanding is that the footprint of that building and the state of repair of the old senior center is significantly better than what they currently have, so they would actually be able to, I guess, increase that revenue model. Number one, and number two, I guess it's a significantly better location from what we were told.
Well, it's much closer to the school, so
Right.
if something needs to happen, they're all in close proximity,
Right,
to one another.
Yep.
And you're right. The state of repair of the current alternative school is, well, there's some, they can't even use the upstairs from what I understand. Is that correct? I don't know if you know that, but there's a lot of the building I guess they can't use.
Right. Yeah.
So this right here is apparently on paper or even just in foresight, looks like it's a better option. So
yeah.
so anyway, so it could, this whole vote really could set off a domino effect of what could happen, in the town as far as better use of some of its facility.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So what let's just kind of jump in. Let's say what happened at the special Board of Finance meeting last night.
So let's see. We'll go with the easy part first, which would be the second item on the agenda. We talked a little bit about the budget, in case anybody had some follow-up questions with regard to any particular line items. But one of the things that we did do is we set the date for the public hearing. That is going to be on Monday, May 17th. I believe it's going to be at 7 p.m. and it's going to be 100% virtual. So that's a little bit of info on that side. We did also speak with the chairman of the Senior Center Building Committee. He kind of brought us up to speed a little bit on kind of where they stood on the project, and we talked about expectations moving forward. Got some clarifications on on our motion, so that everybody was really kind of on the same page, and we can move forward to completion as hopefully as seamlessly as possible.
Have they come up with some idea when the construction will restart again? And any idea when they think it might finish?
No. So currently the PAC group has been in communication with all of the various subcontractors to try to lock them down and lock in pricing and whatnot. Preliminarily, it looks like at least 4 of those major categories look like the pricing is going to be locked in. The subs are going to be locked in. I guess they're still trying to finalize things, so they don't have any of the written documentation as of yet. But as far as the start and the finish date, I guess from what we were told, it's still very fluid because obviously that project had stopped. Those subs have since kind of come off the job, so that's going to take, I think, another kind of coordination of effort as far as when they start to go back on site, and certain things I guess still have to be finalized ahead of time. So unfortunately, we don't have any kind of a start or a finish date on that.
Yeah. Because I mean, even if you attempt to do some work on your own property, it's pretty tough to get a contractor today because they're all busy as hell right now.
Right.
So
Right.
locking that down, it's going to be, could be extended because of nobody's around.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think and I don't want to speak for them. I mean, just me trying to figure out how all the moving pieces and parts go together. I mean, I think that it's probably the most important thing is to be able to lock them down and lock that pricing in at the same time, and that's two big checks in the boxes, so to speak. So so that stuff doesn't move, and
Right.
then it's a matter of just coordinating them.
Right.
Chris, do you have any questions for Scott? You've been pretty quiet.
Well, funny enough, I do.
Okay.
Scott, real quick. First, and it's a real simple one. Is the undesignated fund an actual line item on our budget?
You would think, gosh, as the chairman of the board of finance, you ought to know the answer to that question. That's a really good question, Chris. And,
That's all I have.
I feel really kind of stupid as I sit here because I don't have that in front of me, and I should say, yeah, it is, but
So if I was looking at the balance sheet, somewhere on there would be a line item saying undesignated fund.
Yeah, but that'd be revenue. I would think not. It's like a bank
that's
account.
I don't think that there is.
Right.
I don't think that there is on the actual budget as you see it. Somebody's gonna. I know I'm gonna get killed on this one because they're like, how could he not know?
You're welcome,
Oh my
Scott.
God. Yeah, thanks. Hey, you know what? I've taken a lot of lumps
All right.
lately, so what the heck is one more?
Tell you what, let me move on to the second question then for you. Undesignated fund, whatever line item or whatever. Do you know when the last time a sizable withdrawal was made from that?
Yeah. So,
That was hush money for Paul Ash.
Paid me to
that's
stop
what I do.
asking questions.
But I mean, kind of going back to your first one, I don't believe that there is a line item within the budget that shows that. We always need to ask that question at our meetings. Thinking back now, every month we'll say, okay, hey, what is in the undesignated fund balance? What's that percentage as it relates to, the overall budget? I mean, the budget typically just shows what we have for actual revenues coming in and actual expenses coming in, so that everything balances. So no, that thinking back now, that would not show actually on the budget. Look at the budget.
Makes sense.
That makes sense because they like you trying to put your savings account in your budget, and that's not true. It's just another item that's off to the side because you have income and you got credit and debit. So
I'm sorry. I kind of had to walk that one back and really think about that. But to answer your second question, the last time that there was a sizable withdrawal to the fund balance was probably I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. I'm going to say
$200,000.
If you remember, probably I'm going to say starting about 6 years ago for a number of successive years. Every time we came into a budget crunch, the state couldn't get their heads out of their butt and pass the budget, and we had to wait weeks and weeks and months for them to finally decide what they were going to do to pass the budget. And obviously our revenues, depend on that. And there was a time when I think things got passed finally. Our budget had been in place because it had to be in place at that point. But things dragged on throughout the summer, if I remember correctly, and it was summer and maybe even into September before the state got their house in order. But we need to obviously continue to move on, so our budget had to move forward. And there was a cut to some education
ECS funding.
Yeah,
I remember this well, Scott. I remember this well, actually.
And I think the cut, if I remember correctly, the cut was something like $900,000 or something like that. It was a huge number.
It was substantial, yeah.
And I remember that in working with the superintendent, working with the Board of Ed, they said, look, we're at kind of an emergency mode, and we can close the gap by cutting things that shouldn't be cut and eliminating things and really kind of going into this kind of skeleton type of way of working. And we can close the budget by probably 50% of that, but we can't do the whole thing. And we had to allocate or appropriate, I should say, a figure, and I don't remember.
It was about 200,000. I believe it was about 200,000.
That sounds about right, Mike. I was going to say that I was going to give a swag of saying that it was somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 swag, just because I don't remember. But yeah, it wasn't the full. It ended up not being, I think, that full 50% number, because they were able to close the gap, I think, significantly more than half. So we just needed to appropriate that extra money. I think you're right. I think it was, high twos, if memory serves me right.
And guess who did that? That was Eric Christensen.
Yep.
He's the one that closed the gap. He finds money. But that was when Kevin Skulchek was first selectman, and that was that didn't go to referendum either. That was a simple vote at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
It was a vote actually by just us, by the Board of Finance, I believe.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
But the Board of Selectmen had to approve it, right?
I don't, going back, my mind is spent here. I don't think so, Mike, because there are certain things that we have the ability to just be able to appropriate. And it's kind of tricky, and it has to do whether they're existing. I think it has to do with if they're existing budget items, we can make an appropriation. And it doesn't trigger all of those other things, because we can do one-time appropriations for specific line items. And I think that's how that came about, was because it was already dealing with that specific line item that had funding. The fact that there was a shortfall, we could make an appropriation for that line item. So I don't think it had to go beyond us at that point. Because usually your triggers for spending on outside things are you've got the threshold that it has to meet like a bid process. You've got a threshold that needs referendum, and you've got a threshold that you need to have town meeting for. And I know we didn't need to go to town meeting. Selectmen usually aren't part of that threshold process. They would set the town meeting, or they would set the referendum, and neither of those had to come into play. I think it was just a straight appropriation by us.
Got it. Well, I'm out of questions. I mean, personally, and there's the folks in the room are not asking any questions either, and probably smartly so, because this has really been pretty political. This process this year.
Yeah.
Going back to the political thing, I think it actually set the tone what appeared on Griswold Now, because of some of the reactions, some of the stuff that was talked about on that website or Facebook page. That's what set the tone, and it's unfortunate that happens.
I think that's a great point. I mean, it's funny. I kind of made an analogy the other night as we were waiting for the vote. I can remember the days of social media where all you had was email, and you'd have these kind of keyboard warriors, and those are the ones we joke about, that they're sitting in their closet at 11 o'clock at night sending these email blasts out that are kind of killing other people and their ideas. Well, it's kind of manifested now. We have social media, so that happens the same way, and it is what it is. I try to stay off of that stuff the best that I can. The political process, it is what it is. I mean, there's going to be different fundamentals. There's going to be different ideals, and that's that's what makes the parties, I guess, what they are. I try very, very hard to always try to find that middle ground. I don't know it all. And this might make people upset, but I don't necessarily agree with every single checklist. Just because I happen to be a Democrat doesn't mean that I fully subscribe and believe that every single one of those items on there is the only way that I can think. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm more than willing to listen to the other side, because I don't think that there's ever truly one side that is 100% right. And I don't, but it is what it is. Sometimes it makes the process extremely frustrating. I mean, I just remember that, while I'm on the Board of Finance, I'm also a member of the community. I'm also a taxpayer. And if I wasn't on the Board of Finance, I'd want somebody to try to take the same approach that I make. And I don't mean to sound like I'm up on a soapbox, because I'm not. It's just, that's the kind of thing that sometimes I find to be, the most frustrating. I think political parties are great. I think that, you want to be bipartisan or partisan in certain things. That's awesome. Maybe at a different level, but I don't think it works at the higher levels. I certainly don't think that works at the local level, because, there's so much at stake. I think that it's good to have that as far as the balance goes, but not necessarily to be a cog in the wheel of progress.
All right, Scott. Anything else that you want to throw into the conversation here? Because I'm sure there are things that I missed. So.
No, I'm available. I'll try to make myself available for you guys whenever, and I can be a lot less long-winded if necessary.
No, I mean, this is a real difficult. I mean, you don't hear from me for 6 months, because there's really not a lot going on. Because everything kind of gets crammed, right, Paul? Right, Chris? I mean, everything is, this was thrown into the wheel this year, much different, than other years. So why? Because, well, senior center vote, but you guys have the budget, just the regular budget stuff that you have to work through.
Yeah, that would be a piece of cake compared to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah. Not so much.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes next.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, sir.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
It's Scott Davis from the Board of Finance. He is the chairman of the Board of Finance, and the whole board, love him, like him, hate him, don't have an opinion. They bust their ass every year to put together, craft a budget that they feel is in the town's best interest. Now, here's the funny thing: we can sit here, we can throw jabs, we can throw tomatoes at them, and say we don't like this, but ultimately, the residents have the say on whether or not what they're presenting passes. So, and if you don't like what they pass, well, guess what? You can talk about it. You can bring your happy butt to a meeting,
Show up and vote,
and say, this is what I don't like.
Yeah, I did read something Griswold now that some person said, well, maybe we should get involved. Well, it's easy to say, let's get involved. But when it comes down to volunteering and becoming part of a committee, there's no way in hell they're going to show up. You know what I'm saying? They don't even attend a meeting that's going on to find out what's going on.
They're making uninformed decisions.
Yeah, I mean,
God knows nobody does that.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see new people come into the mix and stop being on some of these committees, because you need to have change, because a lot of these people have been on these committees for a long, long time. And it's not it is because nobody else wants to become part of the committee. So it's the same people that just continue on. But if you get some new people in there, maybe things will change. But until that happens, guess what? Same old, same old.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Very nice, very nice. All right, so we still have Stump the Chump.
Yes, we do.
And our Stump the Chump champion is not here.
Oh, so you guys,
Which means he loses the belt.
No, he does not.
Hey,
No.
I have always lost a bet when I haven't shown up.
That's because that's you.
Okay.
But we're gonna try to rip you somehow. But Austin, he's using the champion's privilege.
I think he came up with a bogus flu-like symptom.
He's probably at another radio station.
No, if he's lucky, if he's smart.
I can't show up today. I have a runny nose.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's that kind of kid.
Okay.
I don't think. So we get Stump the Chump. It's probably on Mixed Bag.
No.
'Cause- What?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
geez.
Because usually Paul does. He gets these phones it in now. He
Mike,
doesn't
you just
really-
might as well take the belt. Because every time he
Oh.
goes specialization, I lose it.
Well, not always.
They're
Okay.
multiple choice, so
All
they make
right.
it easy on you so you can pick an answer,
All right.
Okay.
you know? So,
All right. What do you got?
all right.
Here we go.
Are you
Here's
ready?
Stump the Chump for May 7th, 2021.
All right.
Go.
Here we go. The modern Mother's Day was first celebrated in which country? Germany, United States, France.
United States.
France.
What'd you say?
United States.
Correct.
One for Mike. I told you. Just take the belt.
Which of the following flowers are often associated with Mother's Day? Daisies, lilies, carnations.
Carnations.
Lilies.
Carnation.
I'm a
Okay.
flower child.
Now, this is an easy one. In which month is Mother's Day
May.
celebrated? May. What is the most popular gift purchased for Mother's
Flowers.
Ginate.
Day? That doesn't count. Balloons, flowers, cards.
I said
Cards.
flowers.
Cards.
Nice try there,
Yeah.
Chump.
Tutu.
Which was the first country to dedicate one day for mothers? Australia, New Zealand, England.
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 I said England
He
first.
said it
Whoever said
first.
Which of the following songs by the Beatles were inspired by Mary, the mother of Paul McCartney? Was it
Let it be.
Let It Be? Wow.
Mother Mary, come to me. Whispered words of
Where's he
wisdom.
going?
Let it be.
Where'd he go?
Come on, Mike. Don't be such a sore loser.
Look, I didn't flip you off on camera.
And that was a music question. You should have known that.
I get a chance. Open my mouth.
That's what you tell me with movie ones.
That is true.
The U.S. actress Kate Hudson is the daughter of which famous?
Goldie Hawn.
Rock Hudson.
Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
What is the estranged mother of Homer Simpson? Mona, Mary, Merrill.
Mona.
Who said Mona?
We both did it pretty much at the
that's a
same
push.
time. Yeah.
Mother Teresa founded her missionary in which Indian city? Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Wow.
Calcutta.
Pardon me while I storm off.
This is it, guys. This is it. Which song by John Lennon bears the name of his mother who
Imagine.
tragically died in a vehicle accident? Name of mother. Was it Mary, Ann?
Mary.
Oh, no, you already answered.
Mary, Ann, or Julia?
It was Julia.
Mary.
I said Mary too.
Nope.
So,
Julia.
and I said it afterwards, but it didn't count.
So what was the count?
I don't know. But if you think about it, Julia, don't forget his son's name is Julian.
Julian. Yeah.
You know, that tells me he's very unimaginative, even if he does sing Imagine.
So that's it, right?
That's it.
So it doesn't matter. We pushed,
Yeah, I think we put
and Austin is still the Stump the Chump champion, no matter what. So
by default.
by default. So there you go. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Yep.
Good show. It
Yep.
was good that Scott from the Board of Finance joined us today and was able to give us some good insight.
Yeah.
You know, factual insight, you know, things that are actually happening. And we hope you participated. And if you-
Straight from the horse's mouth.
It's true. It's true. So that's it. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. We will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.
Time for breakfast.
Time for breakfast. That's NSN.
Better, much better, so much better. Right insurance at the right price. You buy better. You buy better.
When was the last time you considered the benefits of having all your insurance handled in one place. One number to call, a licensed account manager dedicated to your policies, discounts for having your policies with one company. The list goes on. Did you know the Burns Agency has a team dedicated specifically to home, auto, umbrella, flood, life insurance, business insurance, including workers' comp and professional policies? We do it all. Call, email, chat us online today. Experience the products and service our loyal customers receive and appreciate. The Burns Agency, proudly serving